NEET Premium has 4 series tests, that is test series, physics, chemistry, biology, and NEET full test. Now let me click on biology. So under biology, you will see the tests are arranged chapter wise. Each bubble is a test. The R bubble is to assign random tests on the same chapter if you need additional practice. Each test can be taken any number of times. A blue bubble means you have not taken the test yet. A green bubble indicates that the test is completed, yet you can retake it for additional practice. Suppose you have not scored good marks, you want to improve your scores, you can again revisit the test. Or sometimes you would have left the test because of net connectivity, or you would not have been thoroughly prepared at that point of time. You want to leave the test, then that will be, if you are leaving the test, it will be indicated by your yellow bubble. Now for the green bubble, as I said, if you want to repeat the test, you can take any number of times any test. So it would be an ideal package for you to understand how to improve your scores and to understand your own strengths and weaknesses. Now if you click on this revision notes, it will open into a PDF, and this PDF is physics, chemistry, and biology concepts for both the years are captured within 135 pages. So you can easily now let's go. Before going to the class, lesson, you would be wondering how the paper would be for NEET. Now, after our analysis, especially in biology, we have seen that it has got 3 types of questions. One is NCERT based question. Approximately 60 to 70 questions in the examination are directly from NCERT books. They can be attempted easily by those who read NCERT syllabus religiously. Direct from previous question papers, another 8 to 10 questions in the examination can be solved if you have solved NEET question papers of previous years. And these questions generally are repeated without any modifications or with very slight modification, and you will be able to understand the question if you have done the past year's question paper. Modified questions will be there at least to an extent of 8 to 10 questions, and these will be totally new questions. These questions become the game changer, for these can't be solved by mere mugging up of concepts. Though they are from NCERT books, but these questions are might feature up in the NEET and help you to prepare adequately. I hope now you have got the framework. Now let us begin the lesson. So today's lesson is respiration in plants. Now cellular respiration can be defined as an intracellular process involving cellular oxidation of organic food substances, during which complex food substances are broken down in a stepwise manner into simpler inorganic substances like water and carbon dioxide with the release of energy. Now you know there are 2 kinds of respiration. One is aerobic respiration, the other is anaerobic respiration. So, the process that involves the consumption of molecular oxygen for the oxidation of carbohydrate, fat, or other organic material, and liberation of carbon dioxide and water as the byproduct is called aerobic respiration. The process where oxygen is not used in the respiration is anaerobic respiration. If there is insufficient oxygen supply, muscles will resort to anaerobic respiration, resulting in the accumulation of lactic acid. That is the reason why you tend to get muscular cramps if you are doing some work for a long time in the same position. Anaerobic respiration is carried out by certain bacteria in yeast, and it is called fermentation. In lactic acid bacteria, it results in lactic acid as a product, and it is known as lactic acid fermentation. In yeast, the end products are carbon dioxide and alcohol, ethyl alcohol, and so the fermentation is called alcoholic fermentation. Now, let us look into details of aerobic respiration. So, you know that the overall mechanism mechanism of aerobic respiration is divided into 4 steps. One is glycolysis pathway, are the discoverers. Next stage is oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvic acid or formation of acetyl coenzyme A or acetyl CoA. Third step is Krebs cycle, also called tricarboxylic acid cycle or citric acid cycle. And the final step is electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. Now let us get into the details of, see, these names why I have given you is in the exam they might ask you what are the two things which mean the same. So it could be they can give you examples like a glycolysis or instead of EMP pathway, Krebs cycle. Like this, you had to select the correct choice. So pathway, Krebs cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle or citric acid cycle. So you had to remember. Now let us get into glycolysis. Now this is a big, what do you say, a series of reactions, and you had to learn this by practicing. So to practice these equations, please write and see, because they might ask you the enzymes that might get into the reaction, or they might ask you what is the product. So unless you are thoroughly prepared, you will not be able to understand and answer the question. Though the answer might be simple, you require practice with the cycle. So glycolysis or EMP pathway. So you better practice this. The process by which glucose, that is glycolysis, glyco is glucose, lysis is breaking. So the process by which glucose is broken down into two molecules of pyruvic acid is called glycolysis. Three German microbiologists, Emden, Meyerhoff, and Parnas, first demonstrated this process in yeast cell. Hence, it is also known as EMP pathway. It occurs in the cytoplasm. See, glycolysis is common both for aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So it occurs in the cytoplasm. It is common to all organisms. It is divided into two phases, hexose phase and triose phase. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate or DHAP are the products of hexose phase, and two molecules of pyruvic acid are the products of triose phase. Reactions involved in glycolysis are as follows. The glucose is phosphorylated. Phosphorylation means added within phosphate group with ATP to form glucose 6-phosphate. The reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme hexokinase. Glucose 6-phosphate is isomerized to form fructose 6-phosphate by phosphoglucoisomerase. Fructose 6-phosphate is phosphorylated using ATP to form fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. This reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme phosphofructokinase, and ATP is dephosphorylated to ADP. Now, this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is cleared by the enzyme aldolase to two molecules of 3C compound. One is dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. These two trioses are isomers, that is, they are interconvertible. DHAP and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate by the being interconvertible by the action of triose phosphate isomerase. These 5 steps of reactions here, they constitute the hexose phase and produce two molecules of 3C compound, that is phosphoglyceraldehyde. In hexose phase, two ATP molecules are used. A molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is phosphorylated and it is oxidized to form it is phosphorylated and oxidized to form 1,3-phosphoglyceric acid or 1,3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. During this reaction, 1 NADPH2 is formed. Now NADH2 is formed. Next, 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid is dephosphorylated to a molecule of 3-phosphoglyceric acid by phosphoglyceric kinase. Now, during this reaction, 1 ATP is being formed. This type of ATP synthesis is called direct phosphorylation or substrate level phosphorylation. In photosynthesis, you see photophosphorylation. In respiration, it is substrate level phosphorylation or direct phosphorylation. A molecule of 3-phosphoglyceric acid is then converted to 2-phosphoglyceric acid by phosphoglyceric mutase. In this reaction, phosphate molecule is shifted from third carbon atom to second carbon atom. A molecule of 2-phosphoglyceric acid is dehydrated to a molecule of 2-enol phosphopyruvic acid by enolase. Removal of water molecule from the substrate is called enolation. A molecule of 2-phosphoenol pyruvic acid is dephosphorylated to pyruvic acid or pyruvate, and ADP is phosphorylated to ATP. This reaction is catalyzed by pyruvic kinase. Thus, in triose phase, two molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehydes are produced along with two molecules of pyruvic acid. So you have to understand this is very, very important, and these steps you have to learn it by practice along with the enzymes. Now let us look into the next step, that is decarboxylator oxidative decarboxylation. So here two molecules of pyruvic acid formed from a glucose molecule moves into mitochondria and are oxidized, decarboxylated to two molecules of acetyl coenzyme. Are reduced to NADH2. During this reaction, two molecules of carbon dioxide are released. Oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvic acid occurs only under aerobic conditions. Under anaerobic conditions, pyruvic acid is either reduced to lactic acid or ethyl alcohol. Of cyclic reactions involved in converting pyruvic acid to carbon dioxide and water in mitochondria is called Krebs cycle. It is also known as citric acid cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle or TCA cycle. Now the reactions of Krebs cycle, let us try to understand. In the first reaction of citric acid cycle, one molecule of acetyl coenzyme A will combine with oxaloacetic acid to form citric acid, and this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme citric synthetase. Citric acid contains 3-carboxylic acid group. Citric acid is dehydrated to form cis-aconitic acid in the presence of aconitase. The same enzyme aconitase catalyzes the formation of isocitric acid from cis-aconitic acid by the addition of a molecule of water. Citric acid, cis-aconitic acid, and isocitric acid contain 3-carboxylic acid groups. Isocitric acid is oxidatively decarboxylated to a alpha-ketoglutaric acid catalyzed by isocitric dehydrogenase. During this reaction, 1-NADH2 is formed. Alpha-ketoglutaric acid is oxidatively decarboxylated to form succinyl coenzyme A. This reaction is catalyzed by alpha-ketoglutaric dehydrogenase. The energy released in this reaction is conserved in NADH2. The succinyl coenzyme A is hydrolyzed to succinic acid in the presence of succinyl CoA synthetase. In this reaction, if you see, ADP is phosphorylated to ATP, and this is called substrate level phosphorylation. Next, the succinic acid is oxidized to form fumaric acid by succinic dehydrogenase. Here, FAD plus is reduced to FADH2. Fumaric acid is converted to malic acid by the addition of a molecule of water, and this reaction is catalyzed by fumarase. Malic acid is oxidized to oxaloacetic acid by the enzyme malic dehydrogenase. Here NAD plus is reduced to NADH2. So this is the Krebs cycle, and there are certain steps which I have given you additionally. Though this is sufficient for your exam, but you need to understand what happens at each step, and again this cycle is very, very important. Now what is the significance of Krebs cycle? Two molecules of acetyl coenzyme A on subsequent oxidation will generate 6-NADH2 and 2-FADH2. When 6-NADH2 and 2-FADH2 enter into electron transport chain, they generate 22 molecules of ATP. In one step, there is a substrate level phosphorylation which directly yields 2 ATP molecules. So, during Krebs cycle, every 2 molecules of acetyl coenzyme A will enter into Krebs cycle. 24 molecules are generated. So, primarily, it is an energy producing system. Since Krebs cycle involves both anabolic and catabolic process, it is also described as amphibolic process. So when anabolic processes, building up process, catabolic processes, breaking down process, when both anabolism plus catabolism together is called as metabolism, together makes up the metabolism of a cell. When both these processes are present together, then we call such a process as amphibolic process, and Krebs cycle is an amphibolic process. Now let us look into the last stage, that is electron transport chain. Electron transport system is a chain of electron carriers consisting of NAD plus, FAD plus, coenzyme Q and cytochromes. Cytochrome will be cytochrome B, cytochrome C, cytochrome A and cytochrome A3. The glucose molecule is completely oxidized by the end of citric acid cycle. But energy is not released until NADH2 and FADH2 are oxidized through ETS. Now, transfer of electrons and protons from NADH2 and FADH2 will occur through a series of components like flavoprotein, cytochrome, and this is called as the electron transport chain. Now, this process leads to coating of electrons to form high energy phosphate bonds in the form of ATP from ADP, and it is called oxidative phosphorylation. The electron transport components are arranged in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. According to modern concept, if you look at it, the electron carriers in the electron transport system are arranged in 4 complexes. This is complex 1, complex 2, complex 3 and complex 4. Then NAD plus is the primary acceptor of electrons. Electrons are transported from complex 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 and then to complex 4. When electrons are transported from one complex to next, ATP is being produced. Thus, one molecule of NAD plus will be yielding you 1, 2, 3. So, 3 molecules of ATP. Now, if FADH2 is the acceptor, it will be moving only from complex 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Therefore, only 2 ATP molecules will be generated. The molecular oxygen forms the terminal constituent of electron transport system. It is the ultimate recipient of the electrons and picks up the protons from the substrate to form the water. Now, let us look at the energy balance, that is the balance sheet of the process. So in the glycolysis, complete oxidation of one glucose molecule will yield a net gain of 38 ATP. Out of 38 ATP molecules, 4 ATPs are formed by direct substrate level of phosphorylation, 30 ATPs through oxidation of NADH2 and 4 ATPs through oxidation of FADH2. Since a large number of ATP molecules are produced in mitochondria, this is also called as the powerhouse of the cell. Now you look at it, glycolysis, you are getting 2 ATP, and even in Krebs cycle 2 ATPs are directly produced. So this is direct phosphorylation. Now so you are getting 4 ATPs. Now oxidative, now NADH2, I said they will have to move through the electron transport chain. So 2 into that is 2 at the glycolysis stage, 2 in the decarboxylation of pyruvic acid stage, and in Krebs cycle 6. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 into 3, it is 30 ATP. FADH2, it's produced 2. So 2 into 2, 4 ATP. So overall, you will get 8, 6 and 24. That is 38 ATP. Now let us look at amphibolic pathway. Glucose is the favored substrate for respiration. All carbohydrates are usually first converted into glucose before they are getting converted, before they are used for respiration. Now you can have anything, like apart from carbohydrates, fats will be there, proteins will be there, and a cell is starving. The first source will be carbohydrates, the second source will be proteins, and finally it will be the fats that will be taken as the substrate. Now, what happens here is they cannot be directly entering into the respiratory pathway. So here you see in the diagram how fatty acids and proteins are getting converted and how they are getting in. Fats would need to be broken down into glycerol and fatty acids first. If fatty acids were to be respired, they would be degraded to acetyl coenzyme A, and then they enter the pathway. Glycerol would enter the pathway after being converted to phosphoglyceraldehyde. The proteins would be degraded by proteases, and individual amino acids, depending on their structure, would enter the pathway at some stage within the Krebs cycle, or even as pyruvate or acetyl coenzyme A. Since respiration involves breakdown of substrates, the respiratory process has traditionally been considered a catabolic process, and the respiratory pathway as a catabolic pathway. But is this understanding correct? We had discussed above at which points the respiratory pathway different substrates would enter if they were to be respired and used to derive the energy. What is now more important for us is to recognize is that these very compounds that would be withdrawn from the respiratory pathway for the synthesis of the said substrates. Hence, fatty acids would be broken down to acetyl coenzyme A before entering the respiratory pathway when it is used as a substrate. But when the organism needs to synthesize fatty acids, acetyl coenzyme A would be withdrawn from the respiratory pathway for it. Hence, respiratory pathway comes into the picture both during breakdown and synthesis of fatty acids. Similarly, during breakdown and synthesis of protein 2, respiratory intermediates form the link. Breaking down process, as I said, within the organism is catabolism and synthesis is anabolism. Because respiratory pathway is involved in both anabolism and catabolism, it would be better to consider the respiratory pathway as an amphibolic pathway. So with this diagram is very important. They might give you as A, B, as C, D, and ask you to identify what is the compound that is being produced. So here they might ask you how fats are entering and how it is getting converted, and how amino acids will be entering into the cycle. So this diagram is very important. So learn this diagram also. Now let us look at the last concept, that is respiratory quotient. Now respiratory quotient is equal to volume of carbon dioxide evolved to the volume of oxygen consumed. Now let us look at the respiratory quotient of glucose. So you have C6H12O6 plus 6O2 giving raised to 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy. Here it is a balanced equation. Now, respiratory quotient is defined as volume of carbon dioxide evolved. So, here it is 6 moles of carbon dioxide to volume of oxygen consumed. So, here volume is all oxygen is also 6. So, 6 by 6, that is equal to 1. Now let us look into RQ of organic acid and lipids. Now if you look at this is malic acid C4H6O5 plus 3O2 giving raised to 4CO2 plus 3H2O plus energy. Here carbon dioxide is 4 moles of carbon dioxide. Oxygen is 3 moles of oxygen, that is equal to 1.33. Now let us look into the palmitic acid, which is a fat again, C16H22O2 plus 11O2 giving raised to C12H22O11 plus 4CO2 plus 5H2O plus energy. So RQ of palmitic acid is equal to 4 moles of carbon dioxide divided by 11 moles of oxygen, that is equal to 0.36. Now if you look at anaerobic respiration, no carbon dioxide is evolved but oxygen is not evolved. So it could be any mole of carbon dioxide divided by 0, that will be equal to respiratory quotient will be infinity. So for anaerobic respiration, the RQ is going to be infinite. Now what is the significance of respiratory quotient? The RQ value of a respiring tissue may provide valuable information to an investigation. From the RQ value, one can obtain a rough indication of the nature of the substrate being oxidized. It also helps us in knowing the type of respiration being performed. It may also provide some information about major transformation of food materials. If RQ is less than 1, the substrate is low of oxygen content, that is, it must be fat. In starvation, cell material itself becomes the substrate. According to Blackman, in starving conditions, if cellular proteins are the respiratory substrates, then it is called protoplasmic respiration. So, with this, we have completed. But these are some of the definitions which they might ask you, and where it is easy, but you may not be able to recollect. That is why we have put it here. Now, let us look at aerobic respiration, complete oxidation of organic food in the presence of oxygen, thereby producing carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Anaerobic respiration, incomplete breakdown of organic food to liberate energy in the absence of oxygen. Depending upon the substrate, it could be lactic acid or alcohol, whatever it is. ATP synthetase, an enzyme complex that catalyzes synthesis of ATP during oxidative phosphorylation. Biological oxidation is oxidation in a series of reaction inside a cell. Cytochromes, a group of ion containing compounds of electron transport system which are present in the inner wall of the mitochondria. So they might ask, what are cytochrome, or what is the compound they contain? Means it could be iron. So the choice would be iron. Or where is it found? So it is in the inner wall of the mitochondria. Dehydrogenase, enzyme that catalyzes removal of hydrogen atom from the substrate. Electron acceptor, organic molecule which receives electrons produced during redox reaction. Electron transport, movement of electrons from substrate to oxygen through respiratory chain during respiration. Fermentation, sorry, breakdown of organic substances that takes place in certain microbes like yeast under aerobic conditions with the production of ethanol or ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. Glycolysis is enzymatic breakdown of glucose into pyruvic acid that occurs in the cytoplasm. Oxidative phosphorylation, process of formation of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate using the energy from the proton gradient. Respiration, biochemical oxidation of food to release the energy. Respiratory quotient, the ratio of the volume of carbon dioxide produced to the volume of oxygen consumed. Proton gradient is nothing but the difference in proton concentration across the tissue membrane. Mitochondrial matrix is the ground material of mitochondria in which pyruvic acid undergoes aerobic oxidation through Krebs cycle. Now, these are the key points which are important in this lesson. As I said, you should know glycolysis and Krebs cycle, which is very, very important. Now, let us take the test. So, respiration in plants. So, respiration in plants is a characteristic of all living cells because immaterial, whether it is a bacteria or whether, see, if it is an aerobic bacteria, it has to respire, or even if it is an anaerobic bacteria, it has to respire. So, it is a characteristic of all living cells. Complete oxidation of 1 gram mole of glucose gives rise to. So if you look at it, one complete oxidation of 1 gram mole, that is 180 grams of glucose, will yield 686 kilocalories, which is nothing but 686,000 calories of energy. That is B. So you have to be very careful in conversion. Energy yield as a result of total oxidation of one glucose molecule during cellular respiration is to convert 38 molecules of ADP to 38 molecules of ATP. See, generally what happens, in some of the textbooks they might give even 36 molecules of ATP. If this 38 molecules of ATP is happening in the case of prokaryotic cells, In most eukaryotic cells, two ATP molecules are consumed in transporting two NADH produced during glycolysis into mitochondria for oxidation. So when you subtract that two molecules from the this one gross, the net gain will be only 36 ATP molecules. So if they are very specifically given to you under in prokaryotes, then it is 38 molecules of ATP. If it is in eukaryotes, it is 36 molecules of ATP. But your textbook has given 38 molecules of ATP as a general thing. If they give both 38 molecules of ATP and 36, you better select 38, because if you go by your textbook, it is 38 molecules of ATP. The end products of respiration in plants are carbon dioxide, water, and energy. In anaerobic respiration in plants, so if we look at anaerobic respiration, the end products will be carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So what is given out means it should be only carbon dioxide is given out. In which of the following respiration in absence of oxygen takes place? So absence of oxygen is anaerobic respiration. So anaerobic respiration is shown by yeast and it is called fermentation. So the answer is yeast. How many molecules of ATP are gained during anaerobic respiration of one molecule of glucose? It is only 2 ATP molecules. That is why energy wise aerobic respiration is better than anaerobic respiration. When a molecule of pyruvic acid is subjected to anaerobic oxidation and forms lactic acid, there is a loss of 3 ATP molecules due to NADH oxidation to NAD+. Fumarase enzyme converts fumaric acid to malic acid. When yeast is producing wine, which of the following is not formed? So if you look at production of bread, beer and wine, it involves alcoholic fermentation. When bread is made, the alcohol evaporates and carbon dioxide causes bread to raise. So the answer is going to be acetyl coenzyme A will not be formed. Which of the following is true about fermentation? So only thing is it produces a net gain of ATP because two ATP molecules are formed. So this is the correct answer. Glycolysis is a process found in virtually all cells, because I said glycolysis is a common pathway both for aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So in virtually all the cells, glycolysis is found. So it is 7 next. Enzymes taking part in glycolysis EMP pathway are present in the cytosol, that is the cytoplasm. What is the end product of glycolysis? So the end product of glycolysis is pyruvic acid. How many molecules of oxygen are used during glycolysis of one glucose molecule? If you look at it, it's a process of partial oxidation of glucose into two molecules of pyruvic acid through enzyme mediated reaction. Here two molecules of ATP are used, first during conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate and second during fructose 6-phosphate. Therefore, there is no oxygen at all being used. So the number of oxygen molecules used will be 0. Sorry. So I'm ending the test. So now you see that all our answers are correct. If any question I have made a mistake here, say for example I made question number 5 a mistake, it will be showing me in red color. When I click on this, I'm going to get the correct answer, and also it is going to show the answer where I have made a mistake for me to analyze the mistake. And suppose I have not attempted question number 9, then it will be showing me in what do you say, yellow color. So this indicates that when I click this, I'll come to know the answer. Children, when you're doing in your NEET exams, you should be very clear that it is a negative marking. If you are not aware of the correct answer, please don't mark anything that comes to your mind, because you're going to lose that -1 mark from the total marks what you have scored. It is not from 720, it is going to be minus. It is going to be subtracted from the marks for the correct number of correct answers, whatever you have given, from that it will be subtracted. So it is better not to attempt a question, because if you are not sure of the answer, don't attempt the question. When you don't attempt the question, you are not going to lose any marks. So with this, we have come to the end of today's class. Note that in the NEET packages, we have got around 48, 38 full hour tests, that is full 3 hour tests consisting of physics, chemistry, and biology. Here, 15 tests are original tests which are created by the tutors, and 20 plus tests are past NEET papers. All are solved with solutions. You can take this package so that it would be handy for you to practice all the three kinds of questions as I had described in the beginning of the class. You can also get additional help by using our ask feature on our site, and we also support chat group using Telegram. You can also book one-to-one teaching with the tutors by booking the slots if you want for any particular topic which you find difficult in either physics, chemistry, or biology. For any queries you have, you can mail your query to info@claysix.com. Thank you.